It is joyful.
Good morning. Thank you very much for your patience. I'd like to call the Joint Subcommittee on K-12 Higher Ed and CIP to order. Welcome to everyone joining us in the committee room here in Carson City and in Las Vegas and online. I would like to welcome back our very own Senator Neal. We are so excited to have you. We have missed you, so thank you for getting well and joining us again. I am Senator Marilyn Dondero Loop, and I will be chairing the Joint Subcommittee meeting today. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblymember Howdegi. Assemblymember Hafen. Here. Assemblymember Koenig. Here. Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. Here. Assemblymember O'Neill. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Here. Assemblymember Yeager. Here. Senator Buck. Here. Senator Cannizzaro. Here. Senator Neal. Here. Senator Stone. Here. Assemblymember Backus. Present. Chair Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much, and please mark any members who are not currently here present as they arrive. We will have members in and out doing bills today, so thank you very much. Before we move on to today's hearing, remember please to turn off or silence your devices, and remember that to state your name for the record each time you begin speaking. Lastly, if you will be presenting or giving public comment, please sign in on the sign-in sheet. And if you have a business card, it's always helpful if you will hand that to the committee secretary. Today, we will be considering 12 Nevada Department of Education budget accounts for subcommittee closing. The budgets are listed on the agenda, and we will proceed in that order. As a reminder, any action of the subcommittee is a recommendation to the full committee. Accordingly, the subcommittee closing recommendations for these budgets will be considered by the full money committees at a later date. Fiscal staff will take the subcommittee through the closing packet. So I will start with Mr., and I just destroy this, Yakovlev. Is that right?
It's pretty close.
Thank you. I usually can do pretty good on names being a teacher, but I just can't get this one down. To take the committee through the first 8 budgets, and then we'll switch out and finish with the remaining 4 budgets. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. For the record, Yuri Yakovlev, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. I'll be presenting the closing documents for the first 8 Department of Education budgets before passing it off to my colleague, the illustrious Ms. Camacho-Polko. The first 3 budgets were previously heard by the subcommittee on March 5th. Starting on page 3 of the packet is the Office of the Superintendent, which supports the State Board of Education, the Commission on School Funding, statewide school issues, and the provisions of law relating to the jurisdiction, duties, and functions of the department's divisions. The first major closing issue is a recommendation of general funds of $211,028 for 1 new budget analyst position to support the pupil-centered funding plan and the work of the Commission on School Funding and lower reliance on contracted subject matter experts. The department currently has 3 positions that maintain the pupil-centered funding plan model by gathering data utilized in the model, running scenarios through the model, and by managing payments to school districts and charter schools, among other responsibilities. These positions are reportedly at a maximum workload capacity and do not have time to proactively plan, track and manage revenues, and manage cash flows. As a result, the department has paid over $1 million on contracted subject matter experts from fiscal year 2020 through fiscal year 2025 to assist the Commission on School Funding with research and analysis. If the new position is approved, the department indicates they may still rely on contracting experts depending on the nature of the Commission's requests. The new position is recommended to provide research and analysis on social, economic, labor market, industrial, and fiscal factors, for example, and would update the Nevada Cost of Education Index in the pupil-centered funding plan model, which is currently performed by a contractor. However, the index hasn't been used in recent biennia, isn't recommended to be used in the upcoming biennia, and not recommended to be used until the state achieves optimal K-12 funding. During the budget hearing, the department testified existing staff do not have the capacity to run all scenarios requested by the commission in the model. After the budget hearing, the department provided Workload statistics for the 3 existing positions indicating a total of 1,713 hours of overtime are needed per year to meet their existing workload demand. However, the estimated overtime does not align with historical overtime utilized in prior years by the positions. For example, the statistics indicate one of the positions requires at least 1,006 hours of overtime per year. That position only incurred 235 hours in calendar year 24, according to the state's Human Resource Data Warehouse. Aside from the research and analysis, the department indicated the new position would oversee day-to-day duties of managing payments out of the plan, develop, calculate, prepare, communicate, and reconcile payments from the plan on a quarterly and yearly basis, which are tasks performed by the existing positions. So it appears the new position would mainly address the existing workload of the existing positions. There is a minor technical adjustment to correct non-state-owned rent at the top of page 5. So does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of one new budget analyst position and associated operating costs as recommended by the governor, inclusive of the noted technical adjustment to non-state-owned rent, for total general fund appropriations of $194,920 over the 2025-27 biennium?
Thank you very much, and I would accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd so move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much. I'll accept a second. Second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Yuri Yakovlev, for the record, the next major closing issue is general fund appropriations of $297,891 for 2 new personnel technician positions to provide in-house centralized human resource services. The department does not have any dedicated HR staff, so they have had to rely on administrative assistants throughout the department's 13 division offices, accounting assistants, and management level positions. These HR duties are outside of their scope of work and has resulted in inconsistencies in the delivery of HR services, miscommunications, delays in resolving payroll-related issues, and even turnover. During the hearing, the department indicated the 2 positions would provide consistency in the delivery of information, avoid confusion, and provide fixed points of contact for human resource matters. Details on the duties and responsibilities of the new positions is provided towards the middle of page 5. As noted, these positions would be providing department-wide human resource services, but are recommended to be funded in the Office of the Superintendent budget. Historically, positions that support the entire department are housed in the Department Support Services budget, which are supported with cost allocations charged to the other departments' budgets. The department indicates the positions are recommended in this budget so that there's transparency that they would report directly to the Superintendent of Public Instruction, not supervisory staff within the department's divisions. Additionally, the department indicates the positions would be performing state-related work, not federal-related work. However, these positions would be supporting federally funded positions throughout the department. So the subcommittee may consider approving these positions either in this budget or in the Department Support Services budget. Moving on to page 6, it is worth noting the department as a whole pays for the services of the centralized personnel section of the Division of Human Resource Management, known as Agency HR Services. In total, the department is budgeted to expend $441,282 for agency HR services over the upcoming biennium in the governor's recommended budget, regardless of if these 2 new positions are approved or not. According to the Division of Human Resource Management, state agencies that utilize their services do not have their own human resource positions. There is one exception. Based on the state's Human Resource Data Warehouse, the State Department of Agriculture, which has approximately 166 positions, includes 1 personnel analyst position. The department has 218 authorized positions as a comparison. Additionally, agencies with fewer than 300 positions are generally required to use agency HR services, but there are 4 noted exceptions at the top of page 7. Based on this information, the subcommittee could consider recommending approval of one or both recommended positions. With that being said, and moving on to page 8, does the subcommittee wish to recommend option A, just to recommend approval of the 2 new personnel technician positions and associated operating costs? This would be general fund appropriations of $297,891 over the 25-27 biennium, as recommended by the governor, and the continuation of paying agency HR services. Or B, recommend approval of 1 new personnel technician position and associated operating costs. This would be general fund appropriations of $153,863 over the 25-27 biennium, and the continuation of paying agency HR services. Or option C, which is to recommend approval of 2 new personnel technician positions and associated operating costs. So that would be the general fund appropriations to support position costs of $297,891 over the 25-27 biennium, as recommended by the governor, and eliminate the utilization of agency HR services in fiscal year 2027, resulting in resulting in savings of $220,641 in fiscal year 2027. And option D, recommend funding one or both positions with general fund appropriations within the Office of the Superintendent budget, or option E, recommend funding one or both positions with cost allocation revenues within the Department Support Services budget account, and fiscal staff requests authority to enter technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. And I would recommend that we approve 1 new personnel technician position and associated operating costs, and the continuation of paying the agency HR services, and recommend E, funding one or both positions with cost allocation revenues within the Department Support Services budget account, and allow fiscal staff to have the authority to enter technical adjustments as necessary, and I'll accept a motion. So moved by Assemblymember Backus, seconded by Senator Canizero. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Yuri Yakovlev, for the record, the third major closing issue is a new unclassified deputy administrator position to oversee administrative, information technology, and facility functions for the department, funded with $443,743 in general fund appropriations. The department indicates they do not have dedicated staff for those functions. Issues are handled on an ad hoc basis by the deputy superintendent of the Student Investment Division. Taking on the additional workload has limited the deputy superintendent's ability to plan proactively. Responses to emergencies are reactionary, and it pulls the incumbent away from their regular duties of overseeing the Student Investment Division, which is comprised of staff from 4 other budget accounts, overseeing 1,000 sub-grant awards, overseeing 100 contracts, developing policies and procedures for the department, evaluating the department's internal controls, all while serving as the subject matter expert on budgetary policy and contract procurement. Additionally, the department's data systems management budget account has an IT manager position, 6 other IT positions, and 4 business process analyst positions. During the budget hearing, the department indicated those positions could not provide department-wide system oversight, as their focus is on systems related to the Student Accountability Information Network, like the Nevada Report Card, not department-wide systems. Finally, the budget account currently has 6 unclassified positions, 5 of which are higher level, and they're presented in the table at the bottom of page 9. The new unclassified position is recommended to have a salary of $151,902 per year, which is the same as the existing deputy superintendents. But the department indicates the new position would serve under and report to the deputy superintendent of the Student Investment Division and not have to supervise any positions. The department indicates the position recommendation is the result of a efficiency study, which was not provided to fiscal staff. And the salary level was determined through conversation with the Division of Human Resource Management based on a structure utilized in the Department of Health and Human Services, where deputy directors have the same salary as deputy administrators. Ultimately, the salary of unclassified positions is decided when the 2025 pay bill will be considered. There is a technical adjustment to correct the start date of the new position and to correct non-state-owned office rent, resulting in decreases in general fund appropriations. So does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of 1 new unclassified deputy administrator position and associated operating costs as recommended by the governor, inclusive of the noted technical adjustments, to revise the position start date and correct the non-state-owned rent expense for total general fund appropriations of $379,212 over the 2025-27 biennium?
Thank you very much. And I am going to ask staff to gather a little bit additional information about this request for the new unclassified deputy administrator position and bring that information to the full committee budget closing. Accordingly, at this time, I will not take a motion related to this request in the budget, and we will instead consider it in the full closing committee. Assemblymember Backus, did you have any comment to make? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All right, with that, then I believe this is where we will change places? Oh, you have another one. Okay, sorry. I was trying to move along quicker than I thought. All righty, please keep going.
The final closing issue is general fund appropriations of $80,000 per year for website hosting fees. Prior and during the budget hearing, it was not exactly clear what this recommendation was funding. However, this recommendation would fund the migration of the department's main website to a cloud server in anticipation of seamless migration to the Office of the Chief Information Officer servers sometime in the future. The OCIO has a backlog, so this would serve as a temporary measure. An updated vendor quote was provided indicating overall general fund decreases of $32,700 over the biennium are needed. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of general fund appropriations of $86,500 in fiscal year 2026 and $40,800 in fiscal year 2027 to fund website migration and maintenance cost as recommended by the governor, inclusive of the noted technical adjustment?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion on this? Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Yuri Yakovlev, for the record, there are 6 other closing items on page 12. Fiscal staff recommends that other closing items 1 through 4 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing items 5 and 6 be closed with the noted technical adjustments to revise non-state-owned rent and software licensing costs, and request authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much. And a second by Senator Canizaro. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Yuri Yakovlev, for the record. Next is the educator licensure budget on page 15. This budget funds the Office of Education Licensure, and the Commission on Professional Standards in Education is responsible for licensing educators. The major closing issue is a new program officer position funded with reserve reductions of $210,051 to oversee daily licensing activities to ensure licenses are issued in a timely manner. The department indicates its licensing unit processed approximately 25,000 license-related requests per year in fiscal year 23 and 24. They're either revenue-generating or non-revenue-generating requests. Because of this amount, the department indicates they're processing applications on average 36 days after receipt, which is outside of their internal policy of 30 days. During the hearing, the department indicated that through an analysis, the main cause of the licensing timeline was due to human input, which could be improved through training provided by the new position. The table at the top of page 16 shows the actual number of revenue-generating applications processed from fiscal year 22 to 24 and projected in 25 to 27. The department further indicates the licensing director incurs overtime, which on average is 3.6 hours per week, to manage the licensing unit, and if approved, the new position would oversee daily operations, provide training as previously mentioned, support license revocation investigations, and support the implementation of a new licensing system. Additionally, the Interim Finance Committee in fiscal year 2023 approved a management analyst position to provide dedicated support to a professional development and micro-credentialing system, which the 2023 legislature approved ARPA funds to fund the ongoing maintenance cost of the system, and the chairs of the money committees issued a letter of intent to see if the department could implement a fee to charge to users of the system. The letter of intent response indicated that system is no longer being utilized because educators can get free professional development from their school districts, and the department is utilizing another system in a different budget for micro-credentialing. The management analysts spent half their time on the system and the other half on licensing activities. The subcommittee inquired during the budget hearing if the position should be transferred to the other budget account to be funded with general funds. After the hearing, the department indicated the position's duties are still mainly related to the licensing system through serving as a data steward, so it should remain in this budget. With that being said, does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of reserve reductions of $210,051 over the 2025-27 biennium for one new program officer position and associated operating expenses as recommended by the governor?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, so moved as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, a second by Senator Canizero. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Yuri Yakovlev for the record. There are 5 other closing items starting on page 17. Fiscal staff recommends other closing item 1 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing items 2 through 5 be closed with the noted technical adjustments to membership costs, non-state owned rent, equipment replacement, and licensing and fingerprint fee revenue. Fiscal staff requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, and a second by Senator Canizero. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Yuri Yakovlev for the record. The career and technical education budget is on page 23. This budget provides resources to improve occupational education programs and access to these programs by populations with special needs. There's one major closing issue, which is the maintenance of effort. This budget account receives the federal Carl D. Perkins grant, which funds career and technical education activities. The state is required to maintain a maintenance of effort, which is comprised of the general funds in this budget for administrative expenses and the general funds in the department's other state education programs budget that funds career and technical education programmatic expenses. The governor recommends $1.5 million in fiscal year 2026 and $1.6 million in fiscal year 2027 of general fund appropriations, which is approximately $1.2 million greater than the amount approved for the 2023-25 biennium in this budget. However, during the budget hearing, the department indicated the federal grant is allowed to fund administrative costs up to 5% of the amount awarded, and the governor's recommended budget meets that maximum. The department has also confirmed the governor's recommended budget for this budget account is in compliance with federal law and meets the administrative cost maximum, therefore requiring the additional general funds. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of total general fund appropriations of $1.5 million in fiscal year 2026 and $1.6 million in fiscal year 2027 in the career and technical education budget account as recommended by the governor?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, and second by Senator Canizero. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Please go ahead.
Yuri Yakovlev for the record. This budget has 5 other closing items starting on page 25, and fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 and 2 be closed as recommended by the governor. Other closing items 3 and 4 be closed with the noted technical adjustments to non-state owned rent and equipment expenses, and other closing item 5 be closed with approval of budget amendment A255222-676 to eliminate decision unit E324. Fiscal staff requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Any discussion? Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for covering that bill. I guess all of the work session items today. But I did have a specific question about this funding because I've received a lot of questions from educators in regards to CTEs and the payment of CTSOs. And so I already spoke to staff to kind of get some more information, but I wanted it clear for the record if you could provide some background on why CTSOs would not be covered here, but where there might be room for us to consider allowing for schools to use funding for CTSOs in future conversations.
Yuri Yakovlev for the record. To clarify, within this budget account is the federal Carl D. Perkins grant, and within there is a certain set aside of funding for leadership activities which may go to the career and technical student organizations. In another budget account that will be considered by the subcommittee next week, there will be discussion of the state programmatic funding for career and technical education activities that is provided to school districts, and the restrictive language in the K-12 funding bill that has been included through the past few biennia, not being able to use those funds for career and technical student organizations. So that discussion will happen at a later date.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd so move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, and a second by Senator Canizaro. Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Yuri Yakovlev for the record. I'll now present the budgets which the subcommittee has not previously reviewed for the Department of Education and for which fiscal staff is responsible for developing closing recommendations. I'll pause following my presentation of each budget to allow for questions. When I have presented the last budget in this group and questions have been addressed, the chair may wish to ask for a single motion for closing consideration on all the budgets for which fiscal staff is responsible for developing recommendations, which is noted on page 39. The first is the Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs budget on page 27, which is a federally funded program to provide low-achieving students who are economically disadvantaged with an opportunity to improve academic achievement. There are no major closing issues and 3 other closing items.
Any questions on this budget? Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
The Office of Parental Involvement and Family Engagement is on page 29, which is required to review and evaluate programs implemented by public school programs aimed at increasing parental involvement and family engagement. There are no major closing issues and 1 other closing item.
Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please go ahead.
The literacy programs budget is next, which supports the Read by Grade 3 program and ensures public schools provide intervention services for pupils in the area of reading. Schools develop a plan to improve literacy instruction, and schools have a designated teacher to serve as a literacy specialist. There are no major closing issues and 4 other closing items.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please go ahead.
Almost there. Continuing education is on page 33, which funds classes for adults to improve literacy skills, to obtain the knowledge and skills needed for employment and self-sufficiency, and teach parents skills necessary to become partners in their children's education. The budget is primarily funded with federal grants, and there are no major closing issues and 3 other closing items.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Finally, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act budget is on page 33, which is primarily federal funding aimed at providing special education services to children with disabilities. There are no major closing issues and 4 other closing items.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please go ahead.
Yuri Yakovlev for the record. As previously noted, fiscal staff is responsible for developing recommendations for the following budget accounts. To assist with the closing, fiscal staff has identified the budget accounts that are recommended to be closed as recommended by the governor, along with the identified technical adjustments that are recommended below. So fiscal staff recommends that the following budget accounts be closed as recommended by the governor with the technical adjustments noted, and requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary. Budget account 2678, Gear Up, including the technical adjustments to correct non-state-owned office rent expenses and adjust federal grant revenue. In addition, to provide staff with the authority to include computer hardware replacement expenses and funding authority in the budget as opposed to a one-shot appropriation, the governor's recommended budget, contingent on approval of the corresponding one-time general fund appropriation bill. Budget account 2706, Parental Involvement and Family Engagement, including the noted technical adjustment to correct non-state-owned office rent expenses. Budget account 2713, Literacy Programs, including the technical adjustments to correct non-state-owned office rent expenses, and to budget funds for a contract position in reserves, requiring the Nevada Department of Education to request the utilization of those funds if the contract is approved at a future Board of Examiners meeting. Budget account 2680, Continuing Education, including the technical adjustment to correct non-state-owned office rent expenses, and budget account 2715, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, including the technical adjustment to correct non-state-owned office rent expenses and to provide staff with authority and to include a portion of computer hardware replacement expenses and federal funding authority in the budget as opposed to the one-shot appropriation in the governor's recommended budget, contingent on approval of the corresponding one-time general fund appropriation bill.
Thank you very much, and I will accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assembly Member Backus, and a second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Now we'll switch, if you'll give us just a minute, to adjust staff. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. And staff has been swapped, so we'll go to Ms. Camacho Poco to take us through the rest of the closing packet. And we'll begin on page 41. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members of the subcommittee. Liliana Camacho Poco for the record. Fiscal Analysis Division. The final four budgets to be closed start on page 41, and the first budget account is 2719, District Support Services, which was heard by the subcommittee on March 5th. This budget account supports positions and operating expenditures for staff assigned to administer and distribute state and federal funds, which include grant monitoring and the state auditing function. There is one major closing issue in this budget account, and it's for 3 new auditor positions. The governor recommends general fund appropriations of $494,905 over the 25-27 biennium for 3 new auditor positions to assist in conducting enrollment count audits. The department indicates these positions are in response to recommendations included in the Division of Internal Audits report in response to Executive Order 2023-005, which required an audit of Nevada 17 school districts. The department, pursuant to NRS 387.304, conducts annual audits of enrollment count reports submitted each quarter by each school district and charter school. The 78th Legislature, through Senate Bill 508, revised the enrollment count reporting from an annual to a quarterly basis, and audits are completed to ensure accurate enrollment counts are utilized for the distribution of pupil-centered funding plan funding to school districts and charter schools. Currently, 8 positions are responsible for audit services and 7 conduct enrollment audits. Of the new positions, 2 positions would be located in Las Vegas and 1 position would be located in Carson City, and this would allow the positions to focus on Washoe County School District and Clark County School District, where the highest concentration of students exist, along with the increasing number of charter schools in Washoe and Clark counties. The department indicates it is currently completing the statutorily required annual enrollment count audits, which include auditing each school district and charter school annually and auditing each school district within district or charter school system every 4 years. The department indicates the change from annual to quarterly enrollment count reporting on the growth of charter schools has increased the required number of enrollment count audits by at least 4 times. Currently, the department uses a non-statistical sampling methodology due to staffing and resource limitations. And the table on the bottom of page 41 provides an overview of the actual enrollment count audits completed in recent school years. And the department is currently auditing about 3% of those larger school districts, as noted on the left. In response to recommendations, the department determined a sample size of 10% is statistically significant, and the NDE indicates that 304 enrollment count reports are currently submitted, and it projects about 332 enrollment reports in the upcoming biennium. Some of the additional duties and responsibilities of the new auditor would include Title I comparability audits and charter school record audits. During the budget hearing, the department indicated that additional charter schools are anticipated to open, and 2 cities have been approved to sponsor charter schools. And they expect those cities to open at least 2 charter schools each in fiscal year 2026, with more in fiscal year 2027. And the department also indicated that they determined that the 3 additional auditors would be necessary to meet the target enrollment audit sample size of 10% of large school districts and manage the current workload. The decision for the subcommittee is at the bottom of page 43. And does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of general fund appropriations of $180,063 in fiscal year 26 and $314,842 in fiscal year 27 for 3 new auditor positions and associated expenses as recommended by the governor, and fiscal staff requests authority to enter technical adjustments as necessary? Thank you, Chair.
Is there any discussion? Assemblymember Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just kind of wanted to discuss this a little further because I know we've been having situations where we've been trying to find little areas where we can cut on a budget. And my thought was if this would be one of those situations where there's 3 new auditors, obviously. There are 2 that are being asked for in Clark County and 1 in Washoe, where if we were able to trim a little, my thought was this could be one of those areas where we could maybe trim back one of those positions. But I just kind of wanted to put that out there for discussion.
Any further discussion? All right, with that being said, Assemblymember Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Chair. And I must say, I agree with my colleague. As in most of the discussions we're having in the last few weeks, we're going to have to look at, although we know positions are needed, we also know the budget challenges that we're having. So at this time, I would agree with the 1 position in Washoe and the 1 in Clark. And if we come back at a different time and find that we're in a better financial outlook, then maybe we can make adjustments. But right now, I think that would be the best way to go.
Thank you very much, and I hear your concerns, and because this is a recommendation to the full committee, we can make that recommendation, and if something miraculously changes, we can figure it out in the full committee. So with that, I will accept a motion from Assemblymember Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I would move to recommend to the full committee approval of funds appropriate to cover in the next biennium the addition of 2 new auditor positions and associated expenses, and also recommend that fiscal staff have authority to adjust those appropriations and enter technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much. And from Assemblymember Backus and a second from Senator Canizaro. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you very much. And with that, we will go on to page 44. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Liliana Camacho Polka for the record. There is 1 other closing item on page 44 with the noted technical adjustment, and fiscal staff recommends this other closing item be closed with the noted technical adjustment to non-state-owned rent and requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd move as stated by staff.
Thank you very much. Assemblymember Backus and a second from Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Liliana Camacho Polka for the record. The next budget account to be closed is the Department Support Services Budget 2720, which is on page 45 of your packet and was heard by the subcommittee on March 5th. This budget account supports the department's accounting, payroll, and budgeting functions and is funded by indirect cost assessments charged to other department budget accounts. There are two major closing issues in this budget, and the first is the indirect cost allocation reimbursement revenue, and the governor recommends indirect cost allocation revenue of $6.6 million in each year of the 25-27 biennium. The Department Support Services budget is funded by indirect cost assessments from various NDE budget accounts, including federally, state, and fee-funded programs. Indirect costs are charged to department budgets as a percentage of direct costs for administrative functions. Projected cost allocation reimbursement revenue increased based on updated rates approved by the U.S. Department of Education in July of 2024. The department uses the simplified method for indirect cost allocations approved by the U.S. Department of Ed. Adjustments are made annually based on prior expenditures and reserve balances with no reduction mechanism outside this process. The department expects updated rates for the 25-27 biennium in April of 2025. There are two indirect cost types: the restricted rate, which applies to federal grants with specific conditions and limitations on expenses, which is at 8.9%, and the unrestricted rate, which is applied to more flexible state-funded programs, and that is currently at 24.5%. The 25-27 biennium rates reflect an 88.5% increase in unrestricted rates with a $1.6 million revenue increase each year. This will significantly impact funding for contributing budget accounts and program operations. The table on the top of page 47 reflects the governor's recommended budget increase of 34.8% in cost allocation revenue when compared to 2023 legislatively approved amounts. You will note fee-funded and general funded accounts are most impacted, with the educator licensure budget facing a 400% increase due to the higher unrestricted rate. The recommended budget includes a $3.7 million reserve for 2026 and $5.9 million for fiscal year 2027, which represents 280 and 492 days of expenditures respectively. The department indicates 12 months of expenditures as a recommended reserve level amount when carried forward would provide the budget account with sufficient funding for the following fiscal year's expenditures. The department also indicates higher reserves typically lower the indirect cost rate in subsequent years. During the budget hearing, the department indicated to ensure compliance with administrative caps, the department tracks federal grant information, including revenue generated through the indirect cost rate, monthly expenditures, and the drawdown of federal funds, ensuring that grants with caps below 8.9% or 24.5% do not exceed their administrative cap amount. The department noted that some budget accounts experience larger increases in indirect cost allocations than others, and the department manages these increases by drawing funds monthly based on actual expenses to prevent over-obligation. Fiscal staff would request authority to enter technical adjustments to reflect the updated restricted and unrestricted rates once received by the NDE from the U.S. Department of Education, and update the indirect cost allocation to reflect the actions made by the money committees to the contributing department budget accounts over the 25-27 biennium. The decision for the subcommittee is on page 48. And does the subcommittee wish to recommend providing fiscal staff with the authority to update cost allocation reimbursement revenue based on legislatively approved expenditures for the department and indirect cost allocation rate information from the U.S. Department of Education?
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
So moved as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. The second, Liliana Camacho Polka for the record. The second major issue is the addition of one new management analyst position, and the governor recommends reserve reductions of $191,153 over the 25-27 biennium for one new management analyst position and associated operating expenses. This position would provide contract oversight and supervise the department's current contract positions. Currently, one management analyst 1 position and one management analyst 2 position manage all department contracts, and the new management analyst 3 position would supervise the 2 current management analyst positions and would directly coordinate with the purchasing division. In fiscal year 2024, the department managed approximately 181 contracts and 94 teacher agreements in fiscal year 2025 for training purposes. The new Management Analyst 3 position would manage the most complex department contracts and would allow existing staff to provide more direct and thorough oversight of contract activities. Some of the additional proposed duties and responsibilities are at the top of page 49, and they would review and execute contracts. They would be the primary contact for the purchasing division, and they would also negotiate contract terms with vendors. During the budget hearing, the department indicated that the new role would also create promotional opportunities within the department, addressing turnover caused by limited career advancement opportunities. And the decision for the subcommittee is on page 49. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of the governor's recommendation for one new management analyst position and associated expenses funded with reserve reductions of $191,153 over the 25-27 biennium?
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll accept a motion.
So moved as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, and a second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion on this motion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much, and we'll move on.
Thank you, Chair. Liliana Camacho Poco for the record. There are 9 other closing items, 5 of which include technical adjustments on page 49 through 50. And fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 4 be closed as recommended by the governor, and other closing items 5 through 9 be closed with the noted technical adjustments to account for updated quotes and correctly budgeting enhancements against reserve balances. Fiscal staff requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you very much, and I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, so moved as stated by staff.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, and second by Senator Canizaro. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And we can move on.
Thank you, Chair. Liliana Camacho Polco for the record. The next 2 budget accounts for the subcommittee's consideration have not previously been heard by the subcommittee, of which staff is responsible for developing closing recommendations and the first budget is the Assessments and Accountability Budget 2697, which includes funding for administering student assessments that are required pursuant to NRS. And this account is funded with general fund appropriations as well as federal, state assessments and grant funding. And this is on pages 53 through 54. There are no major closing issues. And there are 5 other closing items, of which 3 include technical adjustments on pages 54 through 55.
Any questions on this budget? Thank you very much. With that, we can move on.
Thank you, Chair. Liliana Camacho Polco for the record. The final budget the subcommittee has not previously heard is the Data Systems Management Budget 2716, which starts on page 57 of your packet. And this budget account includes funding for the Student Accountability Information Network, positions and contract costs, hardware and software associated with other student and school data systems, including Infinite Campus, the Nevada Accountability Report Card, and the Nevada School Performance Framework. There are no major closing issues in this budget account, but there are 8 other closing items, of which 4 include technical adjustments on pages 57 through 58.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on.
Thank you, Chair. Liliana Camacho Polco for the record. As previously noted, fiscal staff is responsible for developing recommendations for the previously mentioned staff closed budget accounts. The decision for the subcommittee is on page 61. Fiscal staff recommends that the following budget accounts be closed as recommended by the governor with the technical adjustments noted and requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary. Budget account 2697, Assessments and Accountability, including the technical adjustments to provide staff with the authority to reduce the identified contract vendor expenses and include the non-general fund portion for computer hardware replacement expenses in the budget as opposed to the one-shot appropriation bill in the governor's recommended budget, contingent on approval of the corresponding one-time general fund appropriation bill, and budget account 2716, Data Systems Management, including the technical adjustments to reduce the software license expense and increase non-state-owned office rent expenses, In addition, to provide staff with the authority to include the non-general fund portion for equipment replacement and computer hardware and associated software replacement expenses in the budget as opposed to the one-shot appropriation bills and the governor's recommended budget, contingent on approval of the corresponding one-time general fund appropriation bill.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair, so moved as stated by staff.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Backus, and I'll take a second from Senator Canizaro. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And with that, I believe we have completed our agenda. So we will move to public comment. And for those providing public comment online, please dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, it will be 843-0425-2658, and then press pound. When prompted for the participant ID, please press pound. We'll begin here in Carson City. Please go ahead when you are ready.
Morning, everybody. My name is Drew Franklin, D-R-E-W-F-R-A-N-K-L-I-N. I'm a member of the Washoe Education Association and an ambassador for the Nevada State Education Association. I'm a special education teacher in Reno at Innovations High School, here to talk about education. If we haven't figured out by now that our schools are suffering, clearly we are over here doing something wrong. We are underfunded. This is not a policy problem. This isn't No Child Left Behind or Every Student Succeeds. It shouldn't be a partisan problem. We don't have enough teachers, and we don't have enough mental health personnel to help our students. We locked down during COVID, and our children paid the price for that. That combined with crippling addiction to their cell phones, they need help. They need more mental health services in our school. Stepping aside from the morality of just taking care of our children, I wanted to talk a little bit about labor. A benchmark for a highly skilled labor force can be the percentage of people employed in STEM fields. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2018, Nevada had the second lowest percentage when compared to the other states. When we have a poor education system, that impacts other things, and it impacts our labor force. We can't be spending money on baseball, basketball, and F1 races. We need to prioritize education over entertainment. Please help us pass a plan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. I was reading the Reno Gazette Journal this morning, and there was a special op-ed in there written by Susan Kaiser, NSEA member and president of the Washoe Retired Education Association. So I'd like to read a little bit of her piece entitled, "Now's the Moment to Bring Nevada's Classrooms to the National Average in Per Pupil Funds." Quote, "Many things have changed over the past few decades in Washoe County, but one thing has not changed, and that's the underfunding of our schools. Nevada remains near the bottom of the nation in per pupil funding and at the top of in class size. As the governor and Nevada Legislature debate dividing up the budget among many important priorities, let's work together to keep the focus on a brighter future for our kids and our economy. When our economy bounced back from the pandemic more quickly than anticipated, Nevada's coffers overflowed. In their wisdom, the 2023 legislature allocated a large infusion to public schools, specifically to staunch the loss of qualified educators leaving the classroom. Sadly, these pinpoints of lights are not enough to create the learning experience which matches the new or refurbished buildings we have in Washoe County. We have arrived at a crossroads. Every child deserves the opportunity for success in education, and every child would benefit from the adequate, consistent, long-term funding of our schools in the state. Multiple studies have laid out a clear and researched solution, but none more deftly than the plan provided by the Commission on School Funding back in 2019. Their target is to reach the national average in per pupil funding in 10 years, and to generate sustainable revenue, the plan asserts the need to modernize our tax code as particularly outlined in Assembly Joint Resolution 1. In 2023, we took a big step in the right direction, and today Nevada is still over $4,000 per pupil behind the national average, and no progress has been made to create sustainable funding moving forward. This session presents an opportunity to work together as a coalition again to speak together for those who cannot, Nevada's children. Nevada's kids shouldn't face another decade without adequate funding. It's time to pass the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, Good morning. My name is Kimberly Gray. I'm currently a school counselor at O'Brien Middle School located in the North Valleys area of Reno. We are a trauma-impacted Title I school that serves almost 1,100 students. This is my second year as a school counselor. Prior to this role, I was a special education teacher and instructional lead. I hold 2 master's degrees, one in school counseling and one in special education. I'm also trained as a restorative practice educator for the district. Prior to working in education, I worked for Costco for almost 20 years. I'm grateful for my years at Costco as it allowed me to continue my education, which was a huge goal for me. I'm a first-generation graduate and extremely passionate about public education. It was through the district and Costco that I was able to achieve my lifelong dream to become a school counselor, but that was not always the case. I honestly do not know who my school counselor was in high school. I never had a conversation with them. I wish I did. I made the brilliant decision to drop out of high school in February of my senior year, like so many of our students are now. I was only 2 classes short of graduating with my class. I feel like if I had had a conversation with a supportive individual like a school counselor, maybe I would have made a different decision. Our school counselors are given an enormous task of supporting our teachers and students. The list of their responsibilities grow each year and our caseloads get bigger and bigger. The same goes for our teachers, especially our special education teachers. I'm asking that you give us the tools that we need and funds to do our jobs properly so that we can have those conversations with students before they drop out. You cannot say you value public education and pass a budget that keeps us near the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Kern. I'm a teacher at Nick Polikitis Elementary in Reno, Nevada, and I've been teaching for 13 years. I have a dual major bachelor's degree from the University of Nevada, and I have an endorsement in English language acquisition. I've been published for my work with young children in the NACE Journal, and I currently teach general ed kindergarten. This year, I have 3 strategies students in my classroom. For all that don't know, the strategies program is a program designed to help teach students with autism. The 3 students from the program come to the classroom without any kind of aid or support staff because of lack of funding. It is extremely difficult to find qualified teachers and assistants to fill and stay in the program. These hard-to-fill positions have a direct impact on our most vulnerable students, students with special needs, and we are failing them. I am a huge advocate for the inclusion of all students, but I'm also just one person that is managing and teaching an entire classroom that's already bursting at the seams. My students and strategies push in during the most impactful time of the day, our core curriculum. Some of the needs are severe, extreme sensitivities, speech delays, and behavior concerns. These students, who oftentimes struggle with noisy environments, are pushed into an already full classroom, which is even more stimulating. Just imagine how that looks in a kindergarten classroom where we're building the foundation of their education. And I have zero help. I have no one to turn to because we have so many unfilled positions for that program at my school alone every single day. Our lack of funding to find, hire, and retain qualified staff is unacceptable, and it's directly impacting all of our students. Our most at-risk students are not receiving the instruction they're laid out in their IEP. Our typical developing students are not getting the attention they so need and deserve to progress academically. It's frustrating. I can't do the job that I was hired to do because I'm left to do the impossible job of several people. This proposed funding is not enough. It hasn't been enough, and we're not asking for extras. We're just asking for enough. Our Nevada students deserve more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Melinda Bauer, B-O-W-E-R. I've been a secondary teacher in Washoe County School District for 15 years. I serve as a WEA union representative, and most importantly, I'm a parent of an incoming public school student. Today, I represent the voices of every teacher, parent, and student that I know when I say the proposed education budget is not enough. After reading the governor's State of Education address, I was struck by the disconnect between his words and the reality of the budget proposal. A proposed increase of just $2 per pupil sends a clear message. Parents are not being heard, and our state is already failing to do better. In his address, the governor acknowledges that we desperately need to invest more in vocational high schools and make programs more available to students. But we don't need to turn to charter schools to find these opportunities. We already have them, and they're underfunded. At my high school, McQueen, there are 329 students that have requested to take culinary arts next year. We have one chef who can accommodate 144 students. That means that 57% of our currently interested students will be turned away next year. And for the 144 who do get in, they'll be cooking in 6 kitchens from 1982. We have not been able to revitalize our kitchens. The total program budget is just $1,000 for the entire year for all of these students. That's $7 per student. Our automotive program was canceled last year due to lack of funding. Our construction program is all that's left, and it's facing the same challenges. We have over 160 students signed up for next year, but with only one teacher, only 144 students can take this course. His entire program operates on $800 total dollars from our district. Have you been to Home Depot lately? It's not gonna go far. To make up the difference, our students are expected to pay an $80 lab fee. This is not equitable, it's not accessible, and it doesn't live up to the governor's promise that regardless of household income or where a child lives, that every student deserves opportunity in our district. The Commission on School Funding has clearly outlined what our students need. When you choose to follow that guidance, it is then that we can honestly say that we value our children and our education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Senator Dondero Loop and the other members. My name is Kaylee Krentz, for the record, K-A-L-Y, K-R-E-N-T-Z. And I normally have it all together and written down, but today I really wanted to come talk to you guys and just kind of face-to-face have this conversation with you. I'm here on behalf of myself, but I'm also the middle school director for Washoe Education Association. I'm their social justice chair and their communications chair. So as you would assume, hopefully, I hear a lot from our teachers about the struggles they have. I also teach at a Title I school, O'Brien Middle School, where we have probably more electives than any other school site. And that's done because our admin recognizes that the students within our community don't always have the opportunity to continue on to higher education. And that's a shame. And the reason that is because of the inequitable income that comes to our school. For example, I teach choir, and I get $500 a year, which you think, oh, choir, you don't need anything. You're just singing, right? No, I need uniforms for them to wear to perform. I need music. I need so many other things to make their job successful, and I can't. So I have to fundraise. For example, I'm supposed to be taking a group of them to Las Vegas next week for a conference where they get to sing with some of the best in the state. So they get to audition, and the best students in Nevada come together. I unfortunately had to break the news to them yesterday that I cannot be in charge of taking them, and I have to hope and pray that my low socioeconomic students' parents can take them to Las Vegas to participate in this activity because we did not fundraise enough. For me, this is heartbreaking because it's electives and things like sports and trades and other things that bring them to our schools every single day. In my community, where there's a constant fear of several different things, electives is what makes them spark their joy. And I love being the person that helps them find that joy. And it's difficult when we are severely underfunded. And with more cuts coming up, the first place they look to cut, you'll never guess, is electives, fine arts. These are the things that help enrich their minds, enrich their education, and we're a big part of the reason they come to school. It took me hours last night to draft that email to tell my parents, I'm sorry, I did not fundraise enough for your kids to go, even though they're exceptional. And these kids are all kids that come from low-income families or single parents, and it's devastating. I'm just asking you to please consider passing the plan because of the fact that my kids deserve more. The only reason I was able to get a college education was because of electives, because of funding. I had the privilege of growing up in Carson, even though I was poor. I went to a title school, Empire Elementary. And it was those funded programs that allowed me to make it to college. Otherwise, I would have not been here with 3 college degrees later. So please consider passing the plan and think about all the kids who are our future and will be in your seats. Do we want educated individuals that are completely funded in their schools or less? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Justin Javinis, Jervinis, and I am a special education teacher at Marcyhurst Middle School. I have been in education for 15 years. I earned a master's degree in special education, and I also have 2 teaching licenses, one as a generalist and the other for autism. In addition, I am a building representative for the Washoe Education Association. I serve students with autism, intellectual disabilities, and specific learning disabilities in a self-contained program. It's a challenging job, but I love the student population with all my heart. My classroom is calm, loving, and a happy place to learn. Imagine a bright blue rug, 2 bean bags, student artwork hanging on a wall, and student work wall of fame. Even though my students are well below grade level, they work incredibly hard and are always ready to learn. Whenever I receive visitors, they always feel calm, love, and happiness in my classroom. You should come over my classroom sometime. Right now, we are living in a tumultuous time. Inflation is rising, stock markets are crashing, and housing prices are through the roof. Meanwhile, Nevada is 48th in the nation in per pupil funding and 45th in the nation in student success. Our governor's response to these rankings is to increase per pupil funding by $2 per student. Just $2. That's all. How would you feel if your salary increased by $2? Nevada cannot say it values public education enough with a $2 increase. If you want improvement in education, increase the per pupil funding to $700 per student and trust the schools to do their jobs. The students deserve the investment. Be brave and be bold. $2 is not enough. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. My name is Marcy Brodock, and I am a second grade teacher at Natchez Elementary on the Pyramid Lake Indian Reservation, and I'm sorry if I get a little emotional today. Our students are coming to us with heartbreaking stories, and every teacher gets like 1 or 2, maybe a year. When I was in Montana, I would get a couple, but half of my students are coming to me with traumas that are unexplainable. I have students with parents who are in jail for homicide. I have students who are having their parents hauled away from them by the cops in the morning for drug-related issues. My students are coming to me with trauma, and I am trying to wear multiple hats. I'm trying to give them academic support. I'm trying to give them counseling and therapy support because we do not have the resources in our community to be able to provide these students with what they need to succeed. They come to me with trauma that arrests their development, meaning that their cognitive ability is like overloaded by their fight or flight response. So I have to spend time every day making sure that they feel safe and loved before they can even begin to try to understand the academics that I'm throwing at them. I give up my lunch. I give up any kind of extra period so any student in my school can come into my room and be able to talk to me. I feel like our education system, it has a very positive momentum. We have the science of reading, the science of learning, and teachers are embracing that. We are trying to bring that into the classroom. We are doing everything that we can to make sure that our students have the success that they need, but we need more resources. We need more funding, and honestly, teachers need to be paid more for the hats that they're trying to wear to be able to make sure that their students succeed. My heart breaks every single day when I have a student that comes in and tells me that they had to sleep outside last night because mom kicked the boys out of the house because dad is, because they're getting a divorce. Like, there's just so much going on, and there's secondary trauma that teachers are having to deal with on top of making sure that our students feel safe and loved and happy. Like, when my students come into my classroom, I want them to feel like they can have a childhood, but I also need to make sure that I am meeting their academic standards, because that is how I am viewed as a teacher, is by the standardized testing results is what determines my success, not how my students feel at the end of the day. So I am just begging you guys to make sure that you really truly invest in public education. $2 is not enough. I only have 124 students in my school. That's only $400 a year. That is not enough for us to be able to provide these students with services that they need to be able to help them become successful. We need community support, we need school support, we need licensed therapists in our school, and we need our teachers to be able to be paid more so they can be compensated for the time that they're actually giving up. Most teachers do not get a lunch. Most teachers do not get their time off at the end of the day. When the school bell rings at 2:30, I'm not off. Maybe when the school bell rings at noon on June 7th, I might be off for a couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what you do. Any additional conversation here in Carson City? All right, we'll go to Las Vegas. Anyone wishing to give public comment in Las Vegas? Anyone on the phone lines? AVH.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to provide public comment at this time.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, that completes our agenda today. I'd like to thank everyone for being here this morning. For those on the IFC Subcommittee on Education Accountability, we will be meeting at 5 p.m. today in this committee room. And for the rest of you, tomorrow we will be in joint full committee for budget closings, and this meeting is adjourned.